Agents, cars, robots, and personal supercomputers. Oh my. At the Consumer Electronics Show earlier this week, NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang laid out a vision in which AI isn't just generating content in the cloud, it's running privately on your own devices, driving your car, and eventually powering general purpose robots that could transform the world as we know. If you want to learn about how NVIDIA powered this AI revolution, how they more than doubled their revenue to $60 billion last year, and might hit $200 billion this year, hit that subscribe button and stay with me through this video. With AI advancing at an incredible pace, I'll get you caught up on what happened, how we got here, where you're going, and most importantly, what you can do about it. Let's get to it. I'm not one for fluff, so let's get right into the releases. What's new? First, AI-powered graphics cards. Next generation RTX cards, or GPUs that fit into gaming PCs or laptops, are the best cards released to date. These cards are often measured by how quickly they can load video games or videos, measured by frames per second, and here you can see the general upward trend over time, with the last generation of the 4000 chips being at the top, and the 5000 series blew it away. NVIDIA is claiming that their new chips are double the speed as their last generation. We'll need to wait until January 30th until these chips start getting in the hands of some testers to see if that's any good in practice. Another big release that got a lot of people excited was Project Digits, a $3,000 Mac Mini-sized AI supercomputer that can fit on your desk, but is powerful enough for developers and creators to run or train some of the best AI models available without the need for a cloud. We'll get into more details for Digits and some of the other releases in just a second. NVIDIA Cosmos was also released. Cosmos is an open source system for training robots in a simulated environment before you bring them to the real world. This simulated world has real physics built into it. To understand quickly why Cosmos is so important, we can look at how developers are using the tool. Most of these use cases are about building data sets. Every great AI model starts with great data. What Cosmos gives you is a simulated world that looks like the real world. So you can train on things that might not happen frequently, or things that are unsafe to test, like maybe an owner running after their dog on the highway. This is partially how Tesla trains their own full self-driving. Speaking of self-driving, NVIDIA just announced a new partnership. Toyota, Aurora, and Continental are 3 new companies joining the fold as partners, but Mercedes-Benz, Rivian, Volvo, and many others are already working with NVIDIA towards autonomous driving. They also locked down new partnerships for manufacturing. In this case, NVIDIA is working with the German manufacturing firm Kion and the American consulting firm Accenture on warehouse automation. The way they're doing this is by creating virtual representations of manufacturing facilities called digital twins that can be optimized. For context, the warehouse and distribution center markets are about $1 trillion. And last but not least, they announced new tools for creating AI characters in games. The way that this works is that the AI perceives events around them within the game, thinks about what it should do next, reflecting on some memories that it has, then plans and takes the next action. Once you pull that off, you start having a bunch of new ways which you can use AI within video games. It could actually accelerate video game creation. You can make AI people. You could also create an AI boss, and that looks a little terrifying. Or even, you can have the first co-playable character or allies. They could do things like look for resources for you, cover your back, or they could get you out of a jam all by just talking to them. That was a lot, I know, but what's important is why these releases. NVIDIA's betting on AI becoming more than just a tool you use to understand the world or generate content, and instead grow to become an agent that can take action to create value all by itself. Jensen believes that we are currently in the agentic era of AI and will soon enter the age of physical AI. Here's his vision for the past and the future of AI development. The first stage was perception, where AI could understand our world. This is where it started identifying objects in images, but also was used for things like social media feeds. The second wave was generative AI, where we had things obviously like ChatGPT that could create text, but we also had DALL-E and Stable Diffusion that could make images, and many other models that could make things like audio, video, 3D, and more. Now, according to Jensen, is the wave of agentic AI, where AI can take action by itself to create value. I've got a whole video on agents if you're interested. In the future, there will come a wave of physical AI where AI can take more and more action in the real world. Through the gold rushes or the perceptive and generative AI waves, NVIDIA was selling the picks and shovels, namely its GPU chips and the proprietary CUDA software that runs on them. Even in 2016, companies were scrambling to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for NVIDIA chips. A big reason why is because in order to have great AI, there's a lot of detailed math going on. You need to be super precise, fast, and have lots of data. Also, you need to be able to keep costs low. So NVIDIA's combination of cheap, really good hardware mixed with the CUDA software, which only runs on their chips and makes training and running AIs significantly faster than any alternative, was the recipe for success. It's led to NVIDIA having 90% of the global GPU market. No one can really compete, and this near monopoly has put it neck and neck with Apple for the honors of world's most valuable company. And to keep that top spot, they can't exactly chill out. Good news for NVIDIA is they believe that AI is just getting started. And to get where it's going to need a whole lot more power, which means more chips and better software. NVIDIA's solution are AI factories, massive data centers filled with specialized chips designed to generate AI tokens or words faster than ever before and more efficiently as well. Their newest chip powering these factories is called the Grace Blackwell, and it's extremely powerful, but don't take it from me. Here's Jensen.
This level of computation, Blackwell over our last generation, improves the performance per watt by a factor of 4, performance per dollar by a factor of 3. That basically says that in one generation, we reduce the cost of training these models by a factor of 3. Or if you want to increase the size of your model by a factor of 3, it's about the same cost.
So more efficient, cheaper, and faster. That's great. But even still, these chips are super expensive. They're what's powering the cloud. They're not designed for you and me. But the cloud's got some problems. Right now, AI gets better the more it knows about you and me. But in order to have that happen, we need to send personal data to the cloud in order to get personalized responses. And every time we do it, it costs us. That's no good. Thankfully, on the other side, we have personal AI, things that can run locally or on device. Personal AI solves 3 big problems. 1, integrations. AI is most valuable when it's seamlessly integrated into your existing tools and data. That's why current providers like Claude and ChatGPT are starting to create desktop apps to live right on your computer. But even still, this isn't necessarily the answer, since it's not personalized. You still need to send data across the cloud, and it's not integrated in everything yet. There are some apps that are integrated, which means ChatGPT can control them directly, but you can't build your own, and you have to wait for them to create connections, so it's still pretty limiting. Also, do you want these companies reading all of your emails or seeing all your files? That brings us to number 2. Local AI is private. You don't need to send anyone your sensitive data. Even though these providers like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini give you options for controlling your data and where it goes, there's still a level of uneasiness sending critical information related maybe to your business or personal life, like health data or taxes, to anybody else, no matter who they are. And the third big one is no extra costs. The more AI costs, the less people are going to use it. With personal AI running models locally, once you buy a powerful computer or phone, all you're paying for to get an AI model that can run on it to go is the power it costs to keep it charged. So that's why we need better chips and hardware, so you can integrate what's on your computer or phone already privately at low costs without anybody else having control. Enter the new 5000 series and Project Digits. The new 5000 series is the best ever across all benchmarks when you compare it with the last generation. However, if you're just using it for gaming, it might not necessarily be worth it. It depends on how good the AI frame generation turns out to be in actuality, and some people are quite skeptical on how that turns out. Now, if your goal is to run AI models locally, I'd say it was worth the investment, but in the same event, they announced Project Digits, a $3,000 personal AI supercomputer that looks like a Mac Mini and is small enough to go right on your desk, but packs 1,000 times the power of your typical laptop. It's caused some researchers to swoon with the promise that finally, for the first time ever, you'll be able to run and even train some of the largest open source models at home. However, it's still hard to see how good this machine's actually going to be, since according to some experts, the numbers just quite aren't matching up right now, so we'll need to see. It's worth mentioning that Apple Intelligence is also all about on-device AI, and Apple as a company is incredibly well positioned to capitalize on that. So far, Apple Intelligence has been a little bit of a letdown, in part because it's mostly gimmicks right now, like the Genmoji to make your own emoji with AI, or botched summaries that can turn a BBC headline into something that it's totally not. But Apple's been designing its own chip since 2010, and especially with the launch of its M-series chip in 2020 that's continued to develop, it's become one of the only legitimate competitors to NVIDIA in the consumer GPU market, especially with the new M4 Mac Minis, where people are running AI models directly at home and trying to connect maybe thousands of them to train some of these models. And I don't think NVIDIA liked that. But but just to say that there is some competition, which is good because with the amount of data that's flowing through our computers and our phones, I think a local private AI that knows everything about you, has access to your tools, data, and can process it securely is inevitable and will be super helpful. The question is who's going to deliver it first. That's why, in my opinion, a personal AI supercomputer is something worth getting excited about. It could be what powers your own Jarvis.
Wake up, Daddy's home.
Welcome home, son.
I, for one, am super excited, especially if it can live in my glasses. Now, that's the what. What about the why? Well, NVIDIA sees 3 potentially world-changing opportunities for applying AI. If we've got enough processing power, we could feasibly have digital workers or AI agents, self-driving cars, and general-purpose robotics. For digital workers and AI agents, I have another video covering that, but they will eventually be able to handle complex knowledge. And today's hype's really strong, but I think Simon Willison, who's a renowned programmer, one of the best in the world, who's created web frameworks like Django, put it really well in his 1, 3, and 6 year prediction blog post. His prediction for this year was that 1, AI agents are going to fail again, except for the ones that are coding assistants and helping doing research. Why they're going to fail is for anything truly general purpose, they're going to need a lot of agency and ability to make decisions, and right now, it's a bad idea to let the current generation of language models make any meaningful decisions, because they're too unreliable and they're gullible. However, he sees personal coding assistants and research assistants, 1, because both of these work already, and 2, because these problems are well set up for them to thrive. For coding assistants, they can try, look at error messages, and try again in a secure environment. And for research assistants, it's a methodical approach of doing some research, creating a report, and refining that over time, iteratively. So, as we can see, it's likely general agents are pretty far off, but specialized assistants are already providing value, and will likely continue to in a few different areas. Like I said, we have some more videos on this topic. As far as self-driving cars, well, that's already happening. Google's Waymo is already delivering 150,000 rides a week, covering over 1 million miles. Personally, I've had some great experience in these Waymos and can certainly see them continue to grow. In fact, we talked about the Toyota partnership, but Uber also announced that they're working with NVIDIA, specifically looking to use NVIDIA Cosmos in order to improve their autonomous driving. Or as they said, they want to supercharge the timeline for safe and scalable autonomous driving solutions for the industry. Third, general purpose robotics. NVIDIA is claiming that the ChatGPT moment for robots is around the corner, in part thanks to new hardware, but also in part thanks to new tools like Cosmos, where they can train robots in a simulated environment before sending them out into a real world. That method of training is called simulation to real training, or sim to real, and is actually a big deal. It's extremely powerful and was possible only for the first time in 2017, so not that long ago. If you're curious, one of my favorite robotics lab, the Robotics System Lab out of Switzerland, has videos going back 12 years, and you can actually follow along and see the progress over time, and it really started picking up around that time in 2017. One of my favorites is this curiosity-driven learning of joint locomotion and manipulation tasks. Rolls off the tongue, I know. But in this video, you can see what happens when you use this kind of technology. You can have robots pop up on their legs, even if those legs have wheels on them. And the way it's accomplishing these complex tasks like throwing boxes or opening doors is by training in a simulated environment. So you can actually see that you can take hundreds, thousands, or even millions of these robots and at the same time have them learn how to accomplish tasks in a simulated environment, all contributing to the same brain. The way you do it is you have it accomplish a task and give it a reward for doing so. You don't necessarily tell it all the steps along the way, but it learns how to achieve complex behavior that accomplishes that task it was set out to get a reward for. So as you can see, robots that change how the world thinks about manual labor are coming. But with that said, you probably won't have one in your kitchen helping with dishes this year. As we've learned repeatedly, real-world atoms move a lot slower than digital bits, so it's going to take some time. So, what does this mean for you? What can you do today? Like I said in last week's video, and we'll probably repeat a lot, the best way to start is just start talking to it. Literally. If you're not using GPT's voice mode today, that's my #1 recommendation. A few other options though for this week is NVIDIA actually has their own courses. They start simple, like getting started with AI or generative AI explained. They have some about data science. Others show you how to build a brain in 10 minutes. Or you have some using language models or other tools. If you like language models, Llama Index, a tool for making working with them a little bit easier, actually partnered with NVIDIA to showcase a project. In this case, you can follow along a tutorial to create an AI agent that can write a blog post for you. It'll actually go do research, write a draft, and then iterate on that to make it better. This is using NVIDIA's NIM microservices. Those are essentially developer tools that package up AI models that do a whole bunch of things, and you can check them out if you want. At build.nvidia.com/models, you can see all of the NIMs that they have available, which are all these AI models that can do tons of different things. Some are predicting weather data, others can take audio and turn them into a 3D face.
With tenure, Susie'd have all the more leisure for yachting,
But her publications are no good.
Or search for anything like Cosmos to see what kind of NIMs you can play around with there. It's always best to pursue things that you're actually interested in. And if you are curious about Cosmos, there are a couple other world models worth checking out, like Google's Genie 2. It essentially hallucinates a video game using AI generation models to let you play something that doesn't really exist. There's also Oasis by Descartes that does something similar but with Minecraft. Your actions impact the environment, but there's not actually a game behind the scenes. It's just an AI model. Personally, I find this kind of thing fascinating and have spent a lot of time looking into it. So today we covered a lot, but we can see that NVIDIA is building the foundation for AI to move past generating content into taking action. First in the digital world, but eventually in the physical one too. It's good to stay skeptical and not lean too much into the hype and actually understand what's going on, but NVIDIA's got a pretty good track record and it's worth keeping an eye on. If you subscribe, we can do that together. Anyway, I'm Al with Alex AI. Today's January 14th, 2025, and that's how I see it.